I'm Kira Carter, 35 years old, a single mom living in a modest apartment in Portland, Oregon, where the rain-soaked streets and evergreen forests offer a kind of peace that feels like home. My days revolve around my 12-year-old son, Noah, whose curious eyes and fascination with marine biology remind me so much of his father, James. I work part-time as a photographer, capturing the unfiltered beauty of nature and family moments, and as a school administrative assistant to help keep the lights on. Life hasn't been easy since James, a Coast Guard officer, died in a rescue mission 6 years ago. He left behind a grieving wife and a little boy who looked for his dad in every wave. I've learned how to stretch every dollar and embrace joy in the small things, like Noah's laugh when we spot seals on the Oregon coast. But none of that prepared me for the phone call that shattered the quiet rhythm of our life. It was a crisp Saturday morning, the kind where the air smells like pine needles and untold possibilities. Noah darted into our narrow kitchen, sneakers untied, eyes glowing with excitement. "Mom, Liam's dad is driving us to the trails. Can I go?" he asked, already mid-bite into his toast. I looked up from my coffee, smiling at his buzz of energy. "Helmet and phone?" I asked. "The usual safety checklist." He rolled his eyes. 12 going on 17. "I'm not a baby, Mom." I tousled his sandy hair, laughing as he dodged. "Humor me, and be home by 4. We still need to get your supplies for the science project." "Okay," he grinned, grabbing his backpack and racing out the door. He turned back briefly to wave, and I watched him pedal off toward the trees. That was the final image of our old life. At 11:18 a.m., my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. A calm but urgent woman's voice asked if I was Noah Carter's mother. My heart clenched as she explained, there'd been an accident. A car had veered off the road onto the bike trail. Noah had been hit. He was in critical condition and being rushed to Portland General Hospital. Everything blurred. I don't remember grabbing my keys or the drive itself, just the blur of my breath as I shouted his name to the receptionist. "He's in surgery," she told me gently. "A liaison will speak with you soon." A woman with soft eyes and a clipboard led me to a private room and explained Noah's condition: severe head trauma, a fractured femur, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. The neurosurgeon was operating to reduce swelling in his brain. The next 24 hours would be crucial. "Is he going to die?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. She didn't sugarcoat it. "He's young and strong. That gives him a fighting chance, but it's serious." I called my dad, Robert, choking on every word. He promised to come immediately. I sat in the waiting room, numb, surrounded by strangers with their own tragedies, clinging to the single thread that Noah might survive. The surgery dragged on for 6 hours, 6 hours of pacing, praying, and begging a silent sky. Every beep of the hospital machines sent a jolt through my chest, as if they carried some coded message about my son's fate. At last, the surgeon appeared. His expression was steady, not triumphant, but not grim either. "We stopped the bleeding in Noah's brain," he said, "but there's still swelling. We've placed him in a medically induced coma to allow the brain to heal." He warned me about what I would see in the ICU: tubes, machines, swelling, bruises. The next 48 hours are critical. Nothing could have prepared me. My vibrant boy, who had chased waves just yesterday, lay so still. His head was bandaged. A ventilator hissed beside him. I reached for his hand, careful not to disturb the IVs. A nurse named Rachel encouraged me to speak to him. "He might hear you," she said softly. So I did. I told him about the summer marine camp we'd planned, the time he wore a scuba costume on Halloween, pretending to be his dad. I reminded him we still had to visit the aquarium together. My voice trembled, but I kept talking, as if silence might let him slip away. Dad arrived that evening, and his hug broke the dam of my restraint. "You're not alone, Kira," he whispered, tears in his eyes. "But Mom didn't come. She's tied up with a charity gala." Dad explained. "She's praying for Noah." I nodded, too exhausted to process the sting. That first night, I refused to leave Noah's side. I curled up in the recliner with a hospital blanket, the hiss of machines the only lullaby. Rachel brought me coffee, explained every beep, and reminded me gently to eat. Growing up in Seattle, I lived in the echo of my mother Linda's high expectations. Our waterfront home was her pride, spotless, curated, and cold. Linda valued achievement above all. My younger sister Claire, the golden child, was everything she wanted: straight A's, a polished debater, always picture perfect. I wasn't a rebel. I played soccer, earned decent grades, stayed out of trouble. But to Linda, I was always a project needing correction. "Why can't you be more like Claire?" was her daily refrain. Dad, a quiet engineer, tried to soften the blows. "She just wants the best for you," he'd say, but it never made the sting go away. By high school, I stopped trying. Photography became my escape. I captured what was real: unposed smiles, messy emotions, imperfect light. Volunteering at the local animal shelter brought peace that people never did. Those passions built a version of myself untouched by Linda's judgment. Her disapproval never stopped, but I carried on, quietly hoping for a nod of approval that never came. Then, in college, I met James, a Coast Guard cadet with kind eyes and an easy laugh. He saw me, not as someone to fix, but as someone already whole. He cherished my quirks, my photos, my dreams. For the first time, I felt seen. The next morning brought no miracles. Noah remained still, his vitals holding steady, but no signs of waking. I sat beside him, my fingers curled around his, reading from his favorite marine biology book. I'd read the same chapter 3 times, my voice cracking but persistent. I imagined James doing the same had he been here. Rachel entered quietly, checking the monitors with practiced hands. "No changes," she said, offering a soft smile. "But stable is good." Stable. The word sounded like a lifeline in a prison all at once. The door creaked, and I turned to see Claire, my sister, standing there. Tentative. Her strawberry blonde hair was tied in a sleek ponytail, her crisp blazer suggesting she came straight from a law office. I hadn't expected her. "Hey," she said softly. I stood and hugged her. For all our differences, she dropped everything to come. She looked at Noah and gasped, her eyes glistening. "I'm so sorry, Kira." "He looks. I know. It doesn't feel real." She sat beside me, her presence strangely grounding. We talked in low tones about the accident, what the doctors said, how Dad had stayed the night before. "And Mom?" Claire asked. I sighed. "She sent flowers, said she'll visit soon." Claire bit her lip, then let it go. We both knew Linda Carter didn't handle crises well, at least. Not ones that couldn't be solved with image management or donation checks. The hours stretched. I texted updates to Dad, letting him know Claire was here and that I hadn't left Noah's side. Hospital meals arrived and went untouched. Rachel gently urged me to eat again. In the afternoon, a new doctor entered, Drive Patel, a pediatric neurologist. She introduced herself and pulled up nose scans. Her explanation was clinical, precise. There were promising signs: brain activity, some reflex responses, and the absence of major spinal damage. But she emphasized caution. "Coma patients are unpredictable," she explained. "Some wake in days, others weeks. There's no exact timeline." "What can I do?" I asked. "Be here. Talk to him. Familiar voices and touch can make a difference. But remember to rest, too." Rest. That word felt foreign. How could I rest when my child's life teetered on a cliff? Claire stepped in. "I'll sit with him for a while. Go stretch. Get coffee. Shower if you can." I hesitated but nodded. I kissed Noah's forehead and whispered, "Be brave, buddy. I'll be right back." In the hospital bathroom, I stared at my reflection. Dark circles, pale skin, hair hastily tied back. I splashed cold water on my face and brushed my teeth with the emergency kit the nurse had provided. It helped, slightly. Back in the room, Claire was humming an old lullaby to Noah. My heart squeezed. "You remember that?" I asked. Claire smiled. "You used to sing it to me when I had nightmares." Memories surfaced: childhood bunk beds, whispered secrets, shared fears about thunderstorms and report cards. We weren't always distant. Life, expectations, and Linda had pulled us apart over the years. But in this sterile hospital room, we found fragments of closeness. The next few days followed a pattern: morning vitals, doctor updates, whispered hopes. Noah remained in the coma, his body healing slowly. Bruising faded, swelling eased, but still, no signs of waking. Linda finally arrived on the 4th day. Her entrance was as dramatic as ever, heels clicking, perfume trailing, designer purse slung over her arm. Her perfectly styled hair seemed at odds with the sterile environment. "Oh, Kira," she said, sweeping me into a stiff hug. "Darling, I came as soon as I could." I stepped back. 4 days later. She bristled. "I was coordinating a fundraiser for pediatric cancer. I couldn't just walk away. But I'm here now." She approached Noah's bed, her face tight. "He looks awful. My poor grandson." I bit my tongue. Linda turned to me. "What are the doctors saying? Have you considered transferring him to a private facility? Somewhere more specialized? Portland General is one of the best," I said, "and Noah's in good hands." She pursed her lips. "I just want what's best. You know that." I nodded, more to avoid an argument than to agree. Linda always had opinions, always needed control, but this was my child, my battle. Later that evening, she cornered me in the hallway. "Kira, have you thought about long-term care? If he doesn't wake up?" I recoiled. "He will wake up. I hope so, sweetheart, but we must be realistic. These cases, you need to prepare yourself." I turned away. "I'm not giving up on him." "Of course not," she said, voice dripping with condescension. "I'm just being pragmatic." Linda stayed for an hour, made a call about some gala, and left after ensuring several nurses knew she was the boy's grandmother. Her visit left me drained. Claire stayed longer, bringing snacks, charging cables, and magazines. She even coordinated a meal delivery for me through her office assistant. "You're doing amazing, Kira," she said, seriously. "I don't know how you're still standing." "Because I have to," I replied. One evening, Rachel brought in a small speaker. "Play some of his favorite music," she suggested. I chose whale songs. Noah loved them. He used to say they sounded like the ocean breathing. I pressed play, and the room filled with deep, haunting melodies. I watched his face for any twitch, any flutter. Nothing. But I kept playing them, morning and night. By the 7th day, a subtle change occurred. Rachel noticed it first. "He's squeezing your hand, just a little, but it's there." My heart leapt. "Noah, can you hear me?" His eyelids fluttered, a weak, flickering motion. I called for Dr. Patel, who confirmed it. "It's a good sign. He's starting to come back." Hope surged through me like sunlight breaking through fog. Noah was still in there, still fighting. That night, I didn't sleep in the recliner. I sat upright, clutching his hand, whispering stories, playing whale songs, and promising him everything would be okay. Because now, I truly believed it might be. The days blurred together, marked by the rhythm of vitals checks, soft lullabies, and whispered encouragements. Noah remained mostly still, but that small hand squeeze had cracked the silence open. Every nurse, every doctor now greeted me with warmer eyes. Progress, however small, had begun. Rachel took to stopping by during every shift. She no longer needed to check his chart, she just came to sit for a few minutes, smile at me, and gently encourage me to rest or eat. I appreciated it more than she knew. The hospital became a strange kind of home, its sterile walls enclosing my every waking thought. One morning, Claire showed up with breakfast sandwiches and 2 large coffees. She wore sneakers instead of heels, and her usual blazer had been swapped for a hoodie. "Thought you might be tired of cafeteria oatmeal," she said. I laughed, the sound surprising us both. We ate in silence, watching Noah. He looked the same, but knowing he had moved, even slightly, made him seem more alive. "Do you remember that trip to Cannon Beach?" Claire asked suddenly. I nodded. "He chased seagulls until he fell asleep in the sand." Claire smiled. "You were so patient with him. I don't think I realized back then how much of a mom you already were." Her words lodged deep. I had always felt like I was improvising motherhood, like I'd been handed a script in a language I barely spoke. But to hear my sister say that, especially now, mattered. Later that day, Linda returned. This time, she brought a photographer. "It's for the hospital's donor newsletter," she explained, waving away my stunned look. "They want to highlight community stories." "Did they ask you for that?" I asked. She hesitated. "Well, I may have suggested it." I stepped between her and Noah. "Not now. Not today." She sighed. "Fine, but let's at least get a nice picture of you and Noah together." "No." Linda stiffened. "Kira, this is an opportunity to raise awareness." "It's not about awareness. It's about control." Rachel arrived just in time to intervene. "Ma'am, hospital policy prohibits photography in the ICU without administrative clearance. I'll have to ask your photographer to leave." Linda scowled but relented. She left soon after. muttering about wasted chances. I thanked Rachel with a look that needed no words. The next morning, Noah's fingers twitched again. This time, they didn't stop. Dr. Patel ran a battery of tests. His brain activity is improving, she said. The stimuli responses are consistent. I leaned in close. Noah, baby, squeeze my hand again. And he did. A small, intentional pressure. My tears came fast. Claire was there that afternoon. She brought a deck of cards and read aloud from a children's book Noah had loved as a toddler. We played music again, not just whale songs now, but his favorite sea shanties and lullabies. That evening, Rachel called me in from the hall. I think he's trying to open his eyes. I ran to his side. Noah, it's Mom. I'm here. His eyelids fluttered more than before. Then slowly, like the ocean parting, they opened just a crack. His gaze was unfocused, but he blinked. Once, then again. Dr. Patel returned quickly. He's regaining consciousness. We'll monitor closely, but this is very encouraging. I leaned down, cradling his face. You're doing amazing, sweetheart. Keep going. That night, I couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in over a week, I believed in tomorrow. Linda returned the next morning, this time without photographers. She brought Noah a stuffed dolphin, which she placed on the windowsill. I heard, she said. I'm glad. I nodded. Thanks. She hesitated, then asked, do you need anything? Just space. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, she didn't push. Over the next few days, Noah's recovery continued slowly. His eyes stayed open longer. He could squeeze my hand on command. He blinked twice when asked. The first time he made a sound, a rasping, broken whisper. I cried. I called for Rachel and Claire, and we all stood around as he mouthed something none of us could quite understand. Rachel beamed. He's trying. That's everything. Each small step felt like a miracle. One morning, a nurse wheeled in a communication board, a plastic sheet with pictures and letters. I guided Noah's finger as he slowly pointed to letters. The first word he spelled was Mom. I broke down completely. I kissed his hand. Yes, baby, I'm here, always. The neurologist told us he'd need time, speech therapy, motor skill rehabilitation, but his prognosis was optimistic. Claire stayed another week, canceling meetings and court appointments. We spent evenings watching cartoons on her laptop, eating takeout on the windowsill couch. We became sisters again, not just in name, but in presence. On the 12th day, Noah smiled, a tiny, crooked smile, but unmistakably real. Hope had turned into belief, and belief into strength. We weren't done yet, but we were winning, and I knew, in my heart, that everything would be okay. Noah's awakening was slow, like dawn breaking after a long, stormy night. The doctors called it a gradual return to consciousness. He blinked more often, tried to move his fingers, and once even turned his head toward the sound of my voice. Each flicker of awareness was like oxygen to my soul. Rachel increased the frequency of neurological assessments. Dr. Patel explained the process, how the brain heals in stages, how responsiveness improves slowly. It's like climbing a staircase in the dark. She said, he may stumble, but he's climbing. Claire stayed another few days, returning to work only when she felt confident I wasn't collapsing. She called daily, sometimes just to listen while I read to Noah. Our bond, once strained and sporadic, was mending through the thin walls of that hospital room. Linda returned as well, though her visits were brief and performative. She brought Noah designer pajamas and an expensive blanket that wasn't hospital approved. She snapped photos from angles that made her look saintly and left shortly after. Citing obligations and luncheons, I learned not to expect more. On the 10th day, Noah opened his eyes and held them open. Not just a flicker, he looked at me. Really looked. His gaze was unfocused, but it found me. I froze, then leaned in. Noah, sweetheart, it's Mommy. Can you hear me? His mouth moved slightly, dry lips parting without sound. A tear slipped from the corner of his eye. Rachel came in seconds later and caught the moment. Let's get Dr. Patel, she whispered, her voice trembling. The team assembled quickly. They ran tests, tracked eye movements, asked questions. Noah couldn't answer yet, but his gaze followed the flashlight, and he squeezed my hand twice when prompted. He's back, Dr. Patel confirmed. Not fully, but he's returning. Hope swelled in me like a tide. I called Claire first. She cried on the phone. Dad was next. His voice broke as he promised to visit that weekend. Noah's progress over the next week was slow but steady. He began to respond to simple commands: lift a finger, blink once for yes, twice for no. He hated the feeding tube, so he celebrated when he could swallow a spoonful of applesauce. I cried when he whispered, "Hi, Mommy," raspy and faint but clear. Rehabilitation discussions began almost immediately. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, and cognitive assessments were added to his daily routine. Noah tired easily, but he tried. Always. Linda arrived during the therapy session and was visibly uncomfortable. "Is all this really necessary?" she asked, watching the therapist help Noah move his legs. "Yes," I replied firmly. "Every bit of it." She didn't argue, but I noticed she didn't stay long. By the end of the third week, Noah was able to sit upright with support. He could smile, crookedly, and laugh a little, especially when Rachel told him her corny sea animal jokes. The whale songs still played each morning and evening. They'd become our ritual, the thread connecting us back to before. One afternoon, I stepped out to call the insurance company. When I returned, Noah's room was empty. Panic surged until Rachel appeared beside me. "Don't worry," she said, smiling. "He's in the rehab garden. First wheelchair session." I found him outside, under the soft spring sun, bundled in blankets. A therapist was showing him flowers, daisies, snapdragons, and bright yellow marigolds. "Mommy," he said when he saw me, his voice stronger now. "There's a bee." It buzzed past us, and we both laughed. That night, I asked Rachel how she coped with so many intense cases. She paused, then said, "You celebrate every win, big or small. That's how you survive." I started keeping a journal of Noah's wins. First blink, first word, first time he asked for his favorite book. One evening, I handed him the marine biology book, and he traced the whale on the cover. "Read it?" he asked. "Yes, buddy, as many times as you want." On the 30th day, the care team held a milestone meeting. Noah had exceeded expectations, while full recovery would take time. He was ready for outpatient rehab. Discharge paperwork was started. Rachel hugged me. "You're taking home a miracle, Kira." I hugged her back, fiercely. "I know." The morning we left, Claire showed up with balloons and a hand-knit blanket. Dad drove in from the coast with a bag of Noah's favorite books and a new plush whale. Linda sent a video message. Noah didn't ask about her. As we walked through the hospital's automatic doors, sunlight washed over us. Noah squinted, then smiled. "Home?" he asked. "Home," I confirmed, tears filling my eyes. And with that, we stepped forward, into healing, into hope, into everything that came next.